Leave it ready. You ready? Welcome to City Council Budget Hearing, Day 4, Session 4. Please stand for the pledge. Okay, welcome everyone. We're gonna get right into it. We got a good agenda tonight, so let's stay right on point. And we got Chief Zakuski with us. Oh, sorry. Do a roll call for us, Lee.
Councilman Scaringi,
Present.
Councilwoman Riley,
Present.
Councilwoman Friedman,
Present.
Councilman Burns,
Present.
Councilman Strawn,
Present.
Councilman Scanlon,
Present.
and President Restetti.
Present.
That's all 7 here.
Okay, welcome everyone. Let's, I guess we'll get right into it. Chief Zakuski is here. So we are going to formally open pages 48 to 58, 59, 67. And I think there's only one item on 212 relating to the police. So we will open that item on 212 as well. So page 48, Chief, whenever you're ready, go ahead.
I'm always ready.
All right,
No,
good.
You
I like
know,
to-
we're on page 48. I don't know. Does anybody have any questions? This is all staffing. And contractual stuff.
The increase in the wages from 21 adopted budget to 22 proposed budget is due to the police contract mostly that you guys approved earlier in the year. It took for salaries into effect from 20, 21, and 22.
Go ahead, yeah, pull your mic over. So.
I have a question.
Go ahead, Joe.
Thank you. The police officer grade 5, 8 of them, 7 vacant. Is that the recruits that are coming on or?
Yes, November 1st, we're hiring 7 recruits.
Okay,
Yes.
thank you.
Anybody have any questions on the personnel? It's a
Bill, if everyone doesn't have any other questions, there is one other change that is, we made a mistake on this budget, on this page. The second line that says salary increase 1 at 10,000. That number should be 11,500. That's what you approved in the legislation you passed a couple weeks ago. And the salary increase, 2 lines below that at 8,000 should be 7,500. The difference of $1,000 is going to need to come from the contingency line. Excuse me, I wasn't going to take it out of the contingency. We're going to take it out of the overtime line, A 3120 51,900. We're going to reduce that to 442,894. And we'll just reduce the police officer from 305 to 304.
So just a reminder to everybody, those are actually 2 different motions. One, money goes to contingency, and then the money comes out of contingency and back into the other line. It doesn't go directly from one line to another.
Mr.
Can you
Chairman,
unmute-
if I may, Chuck, can you review that one more time, please?
Ken, I'll try to say it the way I think the motion needs to go. We need to reduce the overtime line, A 3120, 51,900, police officer 305,000, the 304,000 and move that into contingency. A 1990, 51, is it 5,600? Nope, it's 550,100.
Chuck, forgive me. I deeply apologize. Could you please go a little slower? I'm trying to write this down to make sure I get it right. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Thank you. My
Account
apologies.
number A 3120.51900 overtime. Reduce that from 443,894 to 442,894. You're going to move that into contingency A 1990-55001 contingency police.
Mhm.
The second entry you're going to do is remove out of A 1990.55001 contingency police, $1,000.
Mhm.
Move that into A 3120.5100 personal services police. And that's going to increase this salary increase that's currently says 10,000 to 11,000. Excuse me, 11,000. Well, do I have to move the other 500 into contingency too?
Where is it coming from?
3125100, 2 lines below it.
Yes.
Okay, so the first motion is moving 1,000 back into the second line. The next motion is removing $500 out of salary increase 1 at 8,000 to 7,500 and move that into contingency A 1990519 or 55001 for 500. Then we're going to take that 500 out of A 199055001 and move that back into the salary increase that was 1 at 10,000 that we changed to 11,000 and make it 11,500. And can someone just motion that?
Madam President, I'd like to make a motion from line 51 ending in 51900 to reduce the line in overtime from $443,894, reduce that by $1,000 and move that into the police contingency line ending in 55001, please.
Second that.
All in favor with that move?
Aye.
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 Anyone opposed? Okay, that's the first one.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make another motion to take $1,000 out of the police contingency line ending in 55001 and move that $1,000 into the personnel services line 3120.5100, increasing the specific salary line that is $10,000 currently to $11,000.
Actually, we're increased the thousands of a plus 1,500 and a -5. Do we have to notate that separately?
The 500 is a separate set of motions.
Okay, so you're just doing but it's 1,500 then. If it's a second set of motion, then
Yeah, you can do both into contingency and then take 1,500 out of contingency.
right, we got to do 1,500 out of 1,000,
Yeah,
right?
so do the 500 next into contingency and then 1,500 out of contingency into the salary line.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion to take $500 out of the line ending in 55001. I'm sorry, out of 51900 and move that into police contingency ending in 55001 for a total of 1,500 altogether.
We just got the wrong. So,
Did I get the wrong line?
well, we're moving, so you already moved 1,000 from overtime. Now we're moving 500 from personal services, which is 51000.
I'll modify that motion to make the outgoing account number ending in 51000, 5100 personnel services.
We get a second on that? All in favor with that?
But I'm sorry, specifically, which personnel line?
It's
Is it
coming out of the
500?
second,
Salary increase one at 8,000. That's where that's where the 500 is coming from.
Okay, good.
Right.
Yeah, that's, when we do anything with personal services, we got to be specific as to.
It's
which
the one, two,
person.
it's the fourth line down. That's where the
One
other
down.
500. And then the third one will be the 1,500 back into the second line, one at 10,000.
Mhm.
Okay, so the second motion that's moving 500 from personal services into contingency. Do we have a second for that?
Second.
Okay, all in favor of that?
Aye.
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 Anyone
Aye.
opposed? Okay. So now we can move the 1,500 from contingency back to the second line in 51,000.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion to take $1,500 out of police contingency, ending in 55001, and move that to personnel services line, account number 3120.51000 for the second line from the top, salary increase, moving that from 10,000 to 11,500.
Right, that's correct.
Second.
All right, Mr. Councilman Burton, second. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Anyone opposed? Okay. All right. Councilwoman Friedman, go ahead.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. Hi, Chief. Thanks
Hi,
for
how you doing?
coming. I'm good. How are you?
Good, thanks.
Okay, so I have a couple of questions. The first one is you said that the increase in the personal services was mostly due to the contract. That's a salary increase for all of those positions that are listed under here, or are there only specific positions that are affected by that contract?
it would be all the positions in the police contract. It would not include anything related to the CSEA people
Okay.
or the appointed positions, if there are any.
Okay, thanks. And my other question was, can you just explain a little bit about, I'm looking at the police officer lines, grades 1 through 5 specifically. I'm comparing it to last year's budget. Can you just explain why the number of police officers has shifted, or the number of each grade police officer has shifted around?
By contract, each year, a guy moves up from 5 to 4 after a year, 4 to 3 after the second year. So, and then they max out at first grade, and you stay there unless you get promoted to sergeant. So those numbers change as time goes on. So depending on who retires and how many we hire, but it automatically, like grade 5 officers right now, next year will be grade 4. So, and they sort of interlap. There might be already still some grade 4s that, because it's not, everybody doesn't change in grade at the same time. Throughout, they get hired at different times. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
And then it's the same number of police officers, but the grade could change depending on how many retire, how many positions we fill.
right. Okay, so that makes sense to me. So then would that imply that there would be a lower number of grade 5 officers because they've moved up?
Yes, theoretically, yes. And it
Okay.
depends when this, and it also depends on when this budget was printed. Because somebody may have changed after this budget process started in May or whenever it was. Somebody may have moved up since then. So the numbers theoretically, yes.
Okay,
Aviva,
Well,
in
the-
this case, that's not 100% true, because last year, I don't know how many grade 5s they had, but they were hiring 8 people in 2021. In 2022, we're basically adding 14.
adding 14 grade 5 officers?
Yes,
Okay. And that's due to the cops grant or where, sorry, where?
no,
does that
that's due to retirements or unfilled positions such as police officers that didn't make it through the academy.
Right. Where did you get that number 14 from? Because I'm seeing 10, 7 of which are vacant, and then 2 from the cops grant. Where did the other 2 come from?
If you look at the probation number 8, the 2 lines below the 10, there's 4 more.
Uh-huh.
That's how
So
you
then-
get there.
That would be 16 though, right?
If we get the cops grant. So,
Okay, so without,
But-
I see, without the grant, it would be 14. With the grant, it would be 16.
Yes.
Okay, and that's the same as, that would be the same as last year, right? The total number of officers, the total number would remain the same?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Okay, want to go to page 49?
Most of this, as in the previous pages, contractual, out of title incentive pay, field training officer, the school guards, everybody knows, we're short of those. You probably see police officers on the corners all over the city when school's in session. Detective on call is contractual. The police matron we put there, it's very tough to hire somebody. The pay's so low, and we tried to increase it. But when you call somebody, when the female gets arrested at 2 o'clock in the morning and say, can you come in? It's difficult. So we're always trying to recruit somebody for that position for liability purposes. And the last couple of years, we've been unsuccessful.
So this is one of the ones I sent you today that we need to make a motion and move money around on that.
Okay. Chuck sent this out earlier. We're just going to do the one motion today for the police matron, and then we will do the other one tomorrow, Chuck.
Yeah.
Okay. Can I do that? Or would somebody else have to do it? So I can do that. Okay. So we're going into the minimum wage contingency, right? Or we're coming out of the minimum wage contingency.
Coming out, yes.
So it's already in there. We don't
Yes.
have to move something.
Correct.
Okay. Okay, so we're gonna move $84 out of the minimum wage contingency, which is 19905501000. We're gonna move 84 down. There's already $25,000 in there for minimum wage purposes. So we're gonna move $84 from 19900.550100 into police matrons, which is 3120.51010. And that changes the
moved.
salary to $13.20 per hour.
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Anyone opposed? Okay. That was easier. Okay. Any other questions on page 49? Chief, is there anything we need to do with that to try to raise it even a little bit more so you
advertised
can
it,
get?
Put it online. And I don't know. We've never been successful. We used to have a permanent years and years ago, and then we had some ladies who would always come in, and we've had some other employees current employees, but that Ken said that they'd have to be paid at an overtime rate because they're current employees. They couldn't be paid at we had a couple employees not. And so sometimes we have to bring female police officers off the street. If we have a female prisoner, we go to great lengths not to have female prisoners, but it happens.
Do they get guaranteed a minimum number of hours just for? In other words, because they're coming in special, do they get at least a
No.
minimum of X
They
hours? or-
don't. But nobody, even now, nobody's applying, they don't know that. But usually if we call them, it's like 2, 3 in the morning. So
Right.
they're there till court, and that's at the judge's whim. If the judge wants to do arraignments at 9 o'clock, he does them at 9 o'clock. If he wants to do them at 10:30, he does them at 10:30. So it's really not a case where they're coming in for an hour and getting $13. If they're here, they're usually here an extended period of time.
Okay, I'm sure we would support if we would need to do any other changes or tweaks to that, because that seems very important to me. So, but if not, then I guess we just do our best. So, okay, page 50 and beyond. Just keep going
This is
right ahead.
Councilwoman Friedman.
Go
I had
ahead.
a.
I'm sorry. Go ahead. Let me see.
That's okay. Thank you.
Yeah, go
Okay, so I'm looking at the field training officer pay line, and I was curious about a couple of things. So first of all, the 2022 proposed budget is much higher than the 2021 adopted budget. And so I was wondering if you could explain a little bit about why such an increase, and also if all 14 of those slots are vacant, then where did the expenditures thus far this year
There,
come from?
first of all, this is contractual, and it's also a state DCS requirement. Out of those 14 positions, we're hiring 7 on November 1st. The plan is to hire additional 7 the middle of March. So that's the number 14 vacant you see. 7 are being hired November 1st of this year, which you voted on the last meeting. And then there's 7 more being hired to bring us up to full staffing. And I think I told council before, usually at the academy, last year was an exception. We were at full staffing, but within a couple of months, people start retiring. We're rarely at full staffing. So that it's a number of recruits we had. Last year it was at 10 at the most, and this year it's going to be 14. So that's the difference. And there's more for field training this year. That fluctuates every year depending on how many recruits we have.
Right. Okay, that makes sense, but it's quite a jump, like more, from the budget last year to this year. That would be more than, if you're going, let's say from 10 to 14, you would expect about a 50% increase, and this is.
Well, you also got to take in the raise, the contractual raise. And I don't know if Lori and Chuck's listening, but I don't crunch the numbers. They do. I just give them the numbers 14. They come up with how much. She's saying that she thinks there's a big jump in the FTO from last year, which was 21,000 to 29. And
Because we have more,
I told her,
Yeah, 5 more.
you have
Right.
5 more
but she
recruits that you have to train.
Right. Sorry, I was actually looking, I apologize. I was comparing the 2021 adopted budget to the 2022 proposed budget. So I apologize. I wasn't looking at the adjusted budget.
I could see, yeah, 4,200 be a big difference.
Yeah,
I see what you're saying.
right. So that was my mistake. But and I'm sorry, did you explain why we have expended some money on this line, even though there are up to, well, through November 1st, all of those positions were vacant?
I don't understand your question. There's people being people just came out of the academy. They were field trained in 6 weeks by DCJS standards and requirements, and they're being field trained currently. So, and they will right through the end of the year. So that'll spend that money. So I don't know. I don't quite understand your question.
Well,
Aviva,
so,
I think
She's saying they're vacant. She thinks they were all vacant.
no, they weren't.
No,
They weren't all vacant. Some of them were there part of the year. I believe we get billed at the end of the cycle when they graduate. I think is when we get the bill.
I see. So at the time that this,
No, well,
Like-
what's going to happen is we're training these guys. We will start paying them as part of their salary. I was thinking of something else.
right, yeah. We pay them as part of their salary. So, we're in October. They came out, they graduate. There's a class graduating the Friday before Halloween. But they've already been field trained 6 weeks, which comes out of that line, and they will be field trained through the end of the year. 4 of them, which will be in their salary, but comes out of that line.
okay. All right. Thank you for the explanation.
Okay, go on to page 50.
Page 50 is mostly equipment. And the big jump there is we have to replace body armor, bulletproof vest every 5 years. And last year, we did 11, and they're costly. This year, that number jumps to 19, so that's 8 times almost $900. Last year, originally we funded 2 vests because there was 8 vacant, and we weren't sure we were going to fill. And this year, there's going to be 14 vests, which is 100% reimbursable once we buy them, half from the state and half from the federal government. So that accounts for a big jump in that line. The numbers changed for bulletproof vests since last year. Everything else, you see a lot of lines zeroed out. If we have it and still in good operating order and stuff that we have, we zero it out, we leave it there because we may need it next year. Sooner or later, we're going to need it. It's not next year, it's the following year. So I don't know if you have any questions on anything there. This is the same stuff you looked at last year. I don't believe there's any additions at all. It's just either we needed some of this stuff or we did not need it. So it might have been funded last year, not this year, or it's funded this year and not last year.
Go ahead, Councilwoman Freeman.
Thank you. So I noticed the last line in this underneath the equipment is police protective gear, but the bulletproof vests are in a different line. Can you tell us more about what kind of protective gear would be included on the last line besides bulletproof?
That would be more heavy duty vest. It would be riot helmets if we should need them. Things of that nature. There's certain types of gear that we buy during, if it should become available, we try to keep, we don't obviously have enough for the whole department. So that's, that's like helmets with shields, heavier vests if we should need them, shields, things of that nature.
And have you found that you have needed that kind of equipment in the past few years, let's say?
We did. We utilized a lot of it a couple of years ago. Maybe you didn't see it, but it was available in case we needed it.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Go ahead and scroll through the rest of the operating pages, Chief, to 58, and then we'll circle back for questions on the, before we go to the parking. Anything else up to page 58 that you or Chuck want to point out, and especially before we open it up for questions on those pages?
As I said previously, Phil, a lot of general operating is, we either funded it or we didn't. Stuff that we either need or we don't need, and some years we do, some years we don't. Over the years, our printing expenses have gone down considerably. We get cheaper stuff at the done by the county. we have 4 dogs, going to have 5, one's in the making now. And just a note that we zeroed out the food line. Anybody happens to look at the canine line, because Purina now provides free dog food to all police agencies, I think, in the country. So we take turns with the sheriff's department, and we take a pickup truck, and they got to go to like Jamestown or something, and they give us whatever, 50 bags, whatever we need. It carries us a long time. We go, I think, twice a year. So in prior years, we had the budget for food for the dogs, and as of this point, we don't have food. So they assured us that program was going to be in effect in 22. So we zeroed that line out. In case everybody should look at it and see we're not feeding their dogs.
Oh, that's interesting. Thank you for pointing that out. Any other questions for Chief up to the operating expenses? Well, all the operating expenses, 48 to 58. Any other questions?
Wait, sorry, this
Go
is,
ahead. No, go ahead, Councilwoman Freeman.
wait, so we're doing,
We're not
Can I
approving.
hear-
I'm just saying for the operating pages 48 to 58. Any other questions for?
oh,
the
well,
Chief?
I was just wondering, can we just go through those with a little more detail? If that's okay?
Well, that's up to
And-
them how they want to present it. You guys have any other, he just pointed out the food, any other, do you have any questions on, you can ask questions on any line you want.
Right. No, that seems really fast to go through 10 pages with no notes. So
Well, I'm not going to tell them how to present it. If you want to ask, do you guys have any other? They can go through every line, or they can go through,
If you have any questions, if you compare, every year, basically it's the same stuff. There's increases in some cost of things. Software prices that Lori takes care of are astronomical. But pretty, any increases or decreases is what we're being charged.
Aviva, also page 50 or 48 makes up probably about 80% of the whole budget.
The only thing that looks substantive to me is in 56, the travel, but is that coming out of COVID, doing more of that, or travel and training?
There isn't a substantial increase. We're virtual reality training, which is 21,500. That's you'll see there it's $17.92 a month per officer. That's scenarios. We're very young, very inexperienced. It's domestics. Any type of calls we may go on. Also, if we can't, guys have an opportunity. There's scenarios like the firearm range. It's like you wear one of those things like the kids wear on your head. You look into it. I actually, they demonstrated this to me. They came to Binghamton, and they actually all the departments within the county, and it's very realistic. Like you walk off, it shows you walking and look, you think you're falling off a cliff, but that's the big jump in it. The rest of it's about the same. Relatively speaking, that's if you look statewide, training expenses. Cheektowaga's got a few more police officers than us, and last time I looked, their training budget was almost double this. We try to send the guys what people need. Some stuff is required, others isn't, and sometimes there's things in here that I don't send people to because something that's more worthwhile or something more we need, we send them to that. So it's so that's the big jump there. Shows that 21,000 for the virtual reality training.
I have a question.
Go ahead, Councilman Burns.
For Chuck, I guess. The American Rescue Plan money that we approved for the police, is that in here? Went to the American Rescue Plan money that we approved through the COVID. Is that in here, or was
No,
that
we
paid to
already
them
paid-
separately?
We already paid that out already. That's done
Okay,
in this year's budget.
Okay, so they got additional money for that. It's
Yes.
not in this.
It was in the 21 budget, not the
Okay,
22.
thank
Chief.
No, go ahead.
Just
Go ahead.
Curious, the last line there on page 58, the background checks, $100 to zero, what's that about?
So this is Councilwoman Freeman. It's difficult to hear Councilwoman Restinetti.
I was just asking about the last line on page 58.
I'm trying to think if this is when we move to another line, the background checks. We get billed once a year usually. This is for school guards or auxiliary police officers. And
We moved it to another
I,
line.
Chuck's gonna look. We moved that to another line. They thought it was more
Okay.
appropriate.
So you're still doing the background checks?
Absolutely,
Okay,
absolutely.
thank you.
Anyone have any other questions on the operating before we go to the parking? Okay, page 59, on-street parking. Doesn't look like a whole lot of changes, but
No, this is, the two positions that we have. Um, just looking, there's overtime, $250, and that's just to pay the meter guys. If we're anticipating a snowstorm, they put out warning tickets. Or we've had a snowstorm, we got to clear the streets for plowing purposes. The uniforms, that's by contract, and I don't know if that's Teamsters or CSCA, whichever one it is. CSCA. The first one's a full-time guy. The second line is the two part-time people. The rest sort of speaks for itself.
okay. Any questions on page 59? Okay, 67 is civil defense.
Civil defense, every year I say, I don't quite know why it's called that, but this is the police auxiliaries. They save us thousands and thousands of dollars every year in overtime. You see them at parades, we have flooding, all the races, the road racing, and they're very, very valuable to us. And I mean, literally, they save us thousands and thousands, tens of thousands of dollars perhaps in overtime. So the stuff itself, just other than what we have budgeted for this, it just shows you some of the stuff themselves, some minor equipment stuff that we buy them. And then the rest is the salary.
Okay. And it looks like just on 212, you just have the auction line for police. Is that correct? Sure. And that's it actually, that's just a placeholder in case you sell stuff or. Okay. It was just the placeholder on the auction line for the police on 212. Okay, any final questions on 48 to 58, 59, 67, and that one line on 212? Go ahead, Councilwoman Freeman.
Thank you. So my question is, can you tell us, besides the, I forget the name of the position, the diversity recruitment officer, Director of Community Outreach and Recruitment. Besides that line, can you tell us about were there any new budget lines that were created as a result of the Police Reform and Reinvention Collaborative?
I don't believe so. No. No, there wasn't.
Okay, do you foresee any expenses that would likely to be incurred by the implementation of the recommendations of the collaborative that we might have to budget for?
You know, we put 50,000 in for diversity training and training like that. So there's 50,000 in the line there. In-house services training. We put 50,000 there for training. We had 2 trainings. We have one going on right now. We had some diversity training in our spring in service, which is a week long. The training itself wasn't a week. And we currently, for the first time, are doing an additional week of training because everything's about training. And we're having some part of it now is also diversity training in that. So other than we put 50,000 in for training in the in-service training for expenses for that as we try to get people to do that for us.
Okay, thank you. I'm wondering if there are, I mean, I know it's might be hard to predict the future, but if there are any costs that are incurred because of this, do you have any idea where that money might come from?
I don't know what costs we may incur, so I don't know where the money would come from.
Right.
You know, when things like that come up, that's a mayor and a Lori and Chuck answer, whoever the current mayor may be next year. If we need something and okay, we got to do this, then they put their heads together and they find the money, be the council. And if it's that important, it comes to you guys at council and the money's found someplace.
Mhm.
If it's something that, you know, both the mayor and the council's always been open to things we need and things that are required. And that's the route I would take. If something came up that was something we really needed that's not in this budget, start with the mayor, then come to council and the money be found.
Mhm. All right, thank you.
Okay.
Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to approve pages 58, 48, 58, 59, 67, and 212.
Yeah, 48 as amended.
As amended.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed?
Nay.
Okay, thanks, chief.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
So just for the record, that was 1 nay, Freeman.
Okay, Lori is right here as she always is, helping us out. So we we will yeah, good thing. Glad for Chuck and Lori being here the whole time. It's a big help. 43, we're going to go ahead and formally open pages 43 and 44, capital improvements on 212 and records management on 203.
Good evening, everybody. There's a few changes in my budget this year. Under personal services, I've added a responsibility adjustment for our hardware software technician. I am restructuring some of the duties in the office that have to do with network credentials, security, mailboxes, et cetera. And try, it's historically only been done by one position in the office. And we really, there's such a large amount of work to be done now with all of this that we're going to spread it to two positions. I want to try it, adding it to this position for next year with a responsibility adjustment to see if the incumbent in that position takes to these duties, if it works well. If it does, in the following year, I'd probably ask for a title change. If it doesn't work well, we'll remove the responsibility adjustment and again, try to restructure the office. But it's a increase in responsibility that he's going to be doing. It's a lot more responsibility in order to do security. So that's what I'm asking for there. The other thing I'm asking to do is to add a website and social media coordinator. It is a new position to the department. It's the annual salaries I'm requesting is $45,000 a year, and to fund the position on January 31st. So that whoever the new mayor is part of the hiring process for that position. This position, I feel we need this position because more and more there's a public demand for more information on the website, more social media. I don't think we can put enough out there to help the public. So we really need a dedicated position to do that. And in addition to just doing the IT related aspects of it, we want to put policy. We want every department to do everything the same way. We want to make sure all the required information that we need to post is put on the website on a timely basis, minutes, videos, agendas, all of that. And make sure as much content we can do as possible and make this not a political position. It needs to be, this is city business. It's not politics. Take it out of all the departments, do it in an organized, regimented way to get as much information out to the public as possible. So those are the two position changes in my office that I'm requesting. Other than that, most of the other lines have decreased other than hardware, software maintenance. I've seen a quite marked increase in that, about $90,000 since last year. Software maintenance goes up every year on every piece of software we own. We need to make sure that we can pay all those bills, be it body cameras, be it GPS units, be it network hardware and software. We need to keep current with all of our licensing, all of our subscriptions for all the different software packages we own. So those are the increases, and really don't have control over it. Once we start using a software, we need to pay the subscriptions every year. There's not a choice. And when you look at this budget, all the maintenance on hardware and software is in this budget, other than the one piece that was in the water budget we talked about a few nights ago. This is where you see the maintenance on every piece of hardware and software that we have that is computer related. So it is consolidated in one location for you. Do you have any questions?
This is Councilwoman Riley.
Go ahead, Councilwoman.
Thank you. Hello, Ms. Cliff. Thank you
Hello.
for the information. So what did you use in terms of a salary analysis for this new hire?
We compared it to other similar positions across the state. We looked at Ithaca, Utica, a number of cities to come up with what a salary, and we didn't want to go on the low end. We want somebody with a little bit of experience.
Oh,
So-
absolutely. And you know how frequently I write about updates. So I support this wholeheartedly. I just want to make sure that it is on par with this type, with the experience we need, the transparency we seek, and we would get very quality candidates for this position.
This seems to be on par with what other municipalities have.
Thank you. Now, tell me this. I did not see Zoom specifically, but did we incorporate our online services for the?
Yes,
Okay.
that is part of your hardware, software maintenance. We never list the specific programs because of cybersecurity, but they're all
Absolutely.
grouped in there. And yes,
Okay.
Zoom is in there.
Perfect. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I do have another question. Now, I do see a
Go ahead.
line that has been zeroed out. It just says annual salary 45,000.
Because that's the annual salary for that new position.
Okay.
I didn't have room to put everything on one line. So you see above, it's just funded for the 11 months, but the annual salary is 45,000.
Awesome. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions for Lori on the operating part, the 43 and 44? Okay, go ahead to the capital or records management, whichever one you want to do first.
Let's do the capital. So on page 212, the information technology section, there are 4 lines there. There's citywide hardware, which is our servers, our computers for our all offices besides police and fire. But the majority of it is our servers and networking equipment, security equipment. Then there's engineering hardware. Every year we put money aside, bank the money towards buying a new plotter for the engineering department. That is a very pricey piece of equipment. So we didn't want to come down with our $32,000, $40,000 request in one year. We're banking the money, and when we have enough, then we replace that piece of equipment. The other 2 lines are the fire hardware and police hardware. They are the mobile data terminals in the police cars. They are all the computers on all the desks in the police department. They are in the fire trucks. They have computers and the computers in the stations. So that between those 4 lines is all the hardware and software for the city.
Okay, any questions on capital for as it relates to IT? Okay.
The other page is the records
203,
management
yeah,
page.
203, yep.
Uh,
Oh, no, that's
sorry.
insurance. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
32.
that
It's wrong on there. It's
203
page
is the
32.
insurance.
32, okay, page 32. So correct that page being open as 32, not 203.
So these are the budget lines that we pay for the storage of our records at Rogers and the shredding of any documents that have hit according to records retention that we should be shredding. And that's where the funding comes for those.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion to approve pages 32, 43, 44, and the IT capital line on page 212.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Hi.
Thank you.
Anyone opposed? Okay. Thanks, Lori.
Thank you, Lori.
There's 32 was records management. Yeah. Not right now. Is that okay? You good right now? All right. So, all right. Since it's football season, what's that? Huh? Oh, sorry. I'm going to make a quick audible here call. Since it's football season, the only person on Zoom or in this room that isn't here for the duration is Chief Gardner. So I'm going to let Chief Gardner go now, and then we're going to take a quick break after Chief Gardner. Is that okay? Everybody else either presenting. So we got Chuck, Lee, and Ken, and everybody else in the room and on Zoom is here for the whole time anyway, except for Chief Gardner. So we're going to let him go, and then he can enjoy the rest of his evening. Joe, you okay with that? Okay with that? Oh, yeah. Yep. Help him out. He's new. Chief Gardner's nervous, so he's new to this. So he's going to do a great job. Okay. Okay, we are going to open pages 60 to 64 and 212. And 212, they can go over it, but 212, just as a note, is similar or exactly the same as the police. It's an auction item as a placeholder for fire equipment, just as a note. So 212. So we will open that page, but it's an auction item as a placeholder for equipment. So we'll go over that in a second. I just wanted to make a note of that. So Chief Al Gardner, welcome.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Yep. So 60 to 64 are your operating pages. So those are your main pages.
Okay, well, this budget is very similar to last year. Except for, we have a few exceptions. We have relocation expenses for the temporary headquarters down in Carroll Street. We currently have 4 unfilled positions that I think we're planning on filling next year, April. Right, Comptroller? Yeah. We do have 4 scheduled retirements also next year. We have 1 unfilled captain's position. That's Captain Tim O'Neill, who is now acting as a temporary fire marshal. And we've recently started the process to replace our administrative assistant that is currently vacant. She's coming in part-time. And that's just about it. Other than that, it's very similar to last year.
Is the Chief Al, I know fires even sometimes more than police in overtime. I know it's always an issue. It looks like we are budgeting a little bit less. So is that for better staffing? I think we won't have quite as much.
Yeah, the overtime budget, the current
Yeah.
one. Yeah, well, we hired 7 people, and that's going to reduce the overtime, and it has done that effectively recently. There's a lot of contributing factors, to the overtime. You got the vacation, sick time, accumulated leave time, personal leave time, union business, military leave, family leave, and they contribute to the overtime. And, most of these factors are contractual, but they can be controlled at some point.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah.
Councilwoman Friedman, go ahead.
Thank you. Hi, Chief.
Hey, Councilman Freeman, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Not bad.
So just to check, I wanted to verify that the increases in the salaries, those are all contractual?
Yes, they are.
Okay. All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
This is Councilwoman Riley.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Wait, no, Councilwoman Freeman had her hand up again. Go ahead.
Okay.
Go ahead. Whichever one you want to go.
Thank
Go
you.
ahead. Yep.
Sorry, I had a follow-up question. The last line on that, the grade changes adjustment, why is that a negative? Negative.
What we do when we calculate it, just like the police was like 140,000 negative. As
Mhm.
people go up their grades, like from a 5 to a 4 to a 3 to a 2 to a 1, they
Mhm.
change during the year. What you see here is where they're gonna end up. Okay? And we calculate the savings because they don't get that whole increase all year. If they came in September, they're only gonna get 1/4 of the increase. So we would take 3/4 out and put into a grade change.
Okay. So,
So to put it to you in an easy way to format, if someone goes from a grade 3 to a grade 2, let's say that's a $5,000 increase, okay?
Mhm.
That goes into they got hired on July 1st, then only $2,500 they're gonna get in that pay. So we'd put a negative 25 down below. 2,500, excuse me.
okay. All right, thank you.
Councilwoman Riley, go ahead.
Yes, thank you thank you for that. I do have a question because I was, and clarify for me. We have a fully appointed, so clarify for me. So we have all of the full-time positions filled and are not temporary appointments in terms of the chief, the marshal, and the deputy chief?
The fire chief is not an appointed position, it's a civil service position. They go through a different category, whether it's probationary to permanent. And I believe, and speaking without all the facts in front of me, I think he's probationary at this point in time, temporary at this point in time.
Okay, so if we have a temporary, we may then, do we need a separate line if there is a permanent person placed?
No,
No.
no. We never separated that out.
No.
There's multiple people in the city that are temporary, probationary, and permanent that we do not identify through here.
Okay, okay. Thank you for that clarification.
Any other questions for Chief Gardner?
I have a quick one for you.
Good, how are you?
Good. I'm just wondering about the increase here under equipment.
We
About
can't
6 grand or
hear.
so. About 6 grand or so. Where is, I'm just curious where that's coming from.
Okay, what line is that?
Page 61.
Question is on equipment, page 61. Equipment, okay.
Was is the type of equipment that was added on this year or same, but prices were up? But
Well, prices are always going up. You know, there's a lot of problems now in the supply chain. But I don't know if any of those really increased that much.
Councilwoman,
Yeah.
what it is every year there's different types of equipment that comes in here. Sometimes it's more money or less money. Okay, I could tell you that we ended up cutting some of this of what the chief requested, okay? But
Okay.
this all varies from year to year, what they need from purchases.
Right.
Next year, where Chief Sikorsky lists all his items for equipment and different things, we don't necessarily do it in the fire budget.
got it. Okay, thank you.
Okay. Any other questions on the operating portion of the fire budget? Go ahead, Councilwoman Riley.
Yes, thank you again. Okay, so based upon our estimate for the rent for the temporary housing of the fire, for the temporary facility, we have here $82,000. That's estimating that we will be ending our lease with said facility on what date?
I believe it was the end of next year.
So the
I
end
think
of.
this takes us through the whole year.
Okay, and then the building equipment, maintenance and improvement will then only be to support the needs of the rental facilities since we will not have gained access to this new building. Because it says remote stations here. Is that, those are the stations that are in other areas of the city. But do we have any money set aside for our temporary facilities? Or is that included in the rent that they maintain such?
We believe everything that we need in that facility is included in the rent. We've had to make improvements this year multiple times, and I believe we're completed with that.
We do have the utilities separated.
Right. The
Okay.
utility bills are separate there.
Right.
Thank you. That concludes my questions.
Councilwoman Friedman, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. I have a follow-up question actually, because now I'm not sure I understood that answer. You said that all of the maintenance is included in the rent. Is that
What-
correct?
What's occurred is, since we rented that building, we've had to make improvements to bathrooms and security and different
Right.
things of that nature. That's already been done and included in the 21 budget actuals. We do not anticipate any other major improvements to that facility that we need done in 22.
Right. Okay, so then what building improvements and maintenance are we foreseeing that we are allocating $34,000 to?
Well, we know we have a building on the south side of Binghamton on Conklin Ave. We have one on the east side on Robinson Street. We have another one on the north side, and I believe there's one on the west side, right, Al?
Yes.
And
You know what? I'm gonna be honest with you. I was, I live right near where the new fire station is being built, so I temporarily forgot that there were other fire stations in the city. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, anything noteworthy on the 212? That's just a placeholder again, right? The auction.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, any other questions?
Mr.
for
Chairman,
Chief Al?
I'll
Go
make a
ahead.
motion to approve pages 60 through 64 in the fire auction line on 212.
Second.
Second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? Okay, let's take a 5-minute recess. And so it's about 6:22, so approximately 6:27, 6:28, we'll reconvene. Thank you.
Can we clarify something before we leave?
Sure.
If you're not hearing an audible voice nor seeing an actionable movement, how is that vote being counted?
We say that again, I'm sorry.
If you're not seeing a hand nor hearing an audible voice, how is that vote being counted?
That's a yes.
Oh,
If you do not vote no, that's a yes.
thank you for clarifying.
Okay, thank you.
Just a friendly reminder for everyone to stay muted while we're on break here.
Lisa, we should not log off. I'm sorry.
Correct. Don't log off, just stay muted and we'll be back in 5 minutes.
Thank you very much.
All right. Lee, could you do a roll call for us for our second half of our day 4 session here?
Okay, so it's 6:29 and we're going to start back up. Councilman Scaringi,
Present.
Councilwoman Riley,
President.
Councilwoman Friedman,
Present.
Councilman Burns,
Present.
Councilman Strawn,
Present.
Councilman Scanlon,
Present.
and President Rosnetti.
Present.
That's all 7 here.
Okay, not bad. Good job, everybody. Get back. So we will go back and we will go right to Mr. Shager. And Chuck is present for all these. So once again, we appreciate Chuck and Lori being here and our corporate counsel for being here for the whole time with us. Definitely thank them for that. So with that, let's officially open pages 17, 18, 23, 45, 92, and the capital improvement portion on 12.
Sorry, I forgot to turn it back on. 17 and 18 is my operation budget. There's really not much changes in here from last year to this year. My budget it's actually gone down roughly $10,000 from last year. So I'll leave that. Any questions from you to ask me? Yes, Aviva.
Go ahead, Councilman Freeman.
Okay,
Sorry.
thank
Yeah,
you.
look up.
I have a couple of questions on page 17. The first one is the temporary services line. So I've noticed that we tend to spend a lot of money there, but is continually budgeted for $0. Can you tell us more
Yep.
about that, please?
This is money that I've come down to you for approval during the year. It's due to retirements and people that resigned and left, and I've had to fill in with temporary assistance during the year. I don't plan on that next year. Everybody should be up to date by the end of the year. In an office of 7 people, I've had 4 people change offices this year.
And that's an unusually high number.
Yes, and a problem.
Right. Okay, so we're not foreseeing any need for money in that line.
I didn't hear that, Aviva.
Oh, I was just verifying, so we're not foreseeing any
No.
need for expenditures from that line. If it becomes necessary, then I guess you'll come to us with a request for a transfer. So my next question is the furniture budget, that it seems like well, we haven't spent that much. We spent like what, one?
Let me explain that furniture line.
Okay.
7 years ago, everybody had a line in their department called furniture. Everyone was budgeting $1,000 or $2,000, and we would have had $40,000 in furniture a year. We've cut all the furniture lines out of everyone's department and put this down into my department. And I guess it's a little, people don't like to come ask me for furniture, but we usually spend some by the end of the year.
Okay, and that's
Tough on furniture, Chuck.
Well, they have to justify why they want
it. And we know you're hard to impress, so so that's a change that was made this year to consolidate all of those lines.
No, it happened about 2016, I think, after a couple years on board and realizing all the extra money we had every year in furniture.
Okay, and the spending, the amount encumbered or expended, that's also citywide, or that's just?
No, that's citywide. That's citywide.
Okay, I see. Thank you.
I know there's some out there that people want to buy before the end of the year, and I've sort of held them off until something may be more important, but.
Mhm. Okay, and my last question is, what are new signature keys underneath the printing costs?
When the controller or treasurer change, we have to get new pre-programmed keys for when we print checks. They don't sign each check. It's printed from the printer and we have the keys. So we have to, when we have a new treasurer or controller, we have to replace those keys. So we're just
Okay,
planning in case.
They unlocked the check writing machine.
okay, gotcha. Thank you. I didn't know what that was.
Unless it's for furniture.
Right. Okay, thank you.
Councilwoman Riley, go ahead.
Thank you again. Hello, Chuck. Two questions for you. Under A131054425, auditing and financial services, it says ACA reporting. Can you clarify what ACA stands for?
Yes, it's a report that we have to do every year. It happens in January
Affordable Care Act, right? Yeah.
that we have to
It is
send out.
Affordable Care
We
Act?
don't do it, well, we do part of the work ourselves, but we have a firm that files all the information for us.
So you did confirm it is Affordable Care Act report?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, there's still health insurance offers and stuff that you have to put out, even though some of the ACA changed, some of the things you have to do is offers of health insurance and coverage you still have to send to every employee.
Okay, and then in terms of check printing, I know it's only $500, but employees are still able to receive paper checks for payroll?
You're talking to the wrong person here on this one, but a lot of people get, very few people don't get direct deposit today. There are still some that don't. But we have to still write the checks out to some people that don't get an email and things of that nature.
And that costs us $500 a year? Under printing report, printing 1310.45413.
That's the rough cost of the boxes of checks that we have to write for payroll.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions for Chuck on the operating portion of his budget? Okay, go right down through those other ones if you want to check 23, 45, 92.
23. Page 23 is where we buy property, usually from Broome County, although it could be some residents at times. We brought it in at $25,000. It's really a number that we usually end up spending somewhere along the line. Yes, Aviva?
Go ahead, go ahead.
Thank you. Could you please elaborate as to the large variety or the large, not variety, variance between the 2021 adopted budget and the adjusted budget, and then the 2022 proposed budget? You said $25,000 is what we usually spend in this line?
We usually budget between 25 and 30,000. I believe this 234,000 is the fire station property.
Okay.
I was gonna say, Chuck, there's usually transfers into that line, correct, over the course of the year? That's the reason why.
Usually,
you
yes.
see a Yeah, that's what I thought,
Okay.
which is the reason for the variance of what is being proposed versus what you actually see encumbered.
Right. I guess last year, I don't remember off the top of my head, but I guess we accounted in advance for the fire department, for the fire station, I mean.
Not necessarily for the acquisition. We didn't do that to this year, or if we did it last year, it didn't get purchased until this year. It may have been actually encumbered and actually purchased earlier this year.
Okay. All right. And I guess we're just not.
And that's Aviva, that's probably the situation now that I'm thinking about it, because we did have some issues with the property.
Okay, gotcha. Thanks.
Can we go to page
Unal-
45?
Yeah, unallocated insurance. Go on.
This is the amount of money that the general fund will pay to the insurance fund. Total of 127,000. That is up from last year because I didn't use as much fund balance in the insurance fund this year as I did last year. Any questions on that one? The next line is page 92. This is for 7 Charles Street, that we pay the electricity bill to keep that facility heated. Any questions there?
Councilwoman Friedman, go ahead.
Thanks. I am wondering why thus far we've expended about half of that. Is that just because winter hasn't arrived yet for this year?
That's probably part of the reason.
Okay.
And this was also printed at the end of or in the middle of September. And I don't know if the August bills are even included in there yet. So it's either 7 or 8 months.
Yeah, that makes sense. That was the same thing that happened. There was another line that we were having the same discussion. It was like a bill in August. I just like when I imagine what we are expected to spend, I think 3/4 of the proposed budget, but I
Well,
guess
on the same token, I could tell you that everybody here is probably going to feel the pinch of the price of natural gas. From January and February, when it was about, I'm going to say $2 per CCF, it's probably about $6.50 today. So if you don't have a fixed rate natural gas thing, your natural gas bill is going to be significantly higher in the winter. And I just know that because we just changed over the process for the city of who we're using as a supplier, and it was amazing when you looked at the rates over the last 8 months.
Mhm.
And Aviva, that was 7 months worth of bills. We just looked it up.
Oh, okay. That makes sense. Thanks.
And on page 212, the things that fall underneath my department is usually the fiscal agent fees. This is for bonding. I have 10,000 in there for the water fund and 10,000 in there for the parking ramp fund for a total of $20,000.
Any other questions for Chuck on his pages here?
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Okay. Pages 17, 18, 23, 45, 92, and 212.
Second.
Second that.
All in favor?
I
Aye. Anyone opposed? Okay, thanks, Chuck. Don't go anywhere. Lee, you ready? Okay, Lee is here with us as well. And so we are going to open pages 14, 24, 25, 31, and 65. City Council, City Clerk, Elections, and Animal Control.
So we'll start here with page 14. This is City Council's budget. No significant changes from 2021. The salary went up by CPI. Any questions on the City Council page?
Councilman Riley, go ahead.
I don't see our membership to NICOM. Is that, did we discuss that under another section? I think I remember, but is it in a bulk package under the mayor's office?
Yes,
Okay. And then the monies that are not expended for travel and training roll over?
go into fund balance.
Okay, so if needed, we can always make adjustments throughout the year.
Yep.
Thank you.
Any other questions on the city council pages? If not, we can move on to city clerk, 24 and 25. So in personal services, one thing to point out here is if you look in the 2021 budget, there is an unfunded senior account clerk that doesn't appear in here under personal services. Other than that, there's not much change in here from 2021.
Is the bingo inspector still doing a good job for us?
He is. Bingo got pretty tricky over COVID, but he's out there and he just stopped in the office the other day.
I'd like to put my name in for that in the future if that's
This is Councilwoman Riley.
Go ahead.
Can you clarify what longevity is, which line longevity is tied to?
It's to a person that has over 15 years worth of experience or 15 years of service to the city.
And we have someone in this personal services bracket that meets that criteria?
Yes, we do.
And just one?
Yes,
And is that in some CSEA contract or language?
yes.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Lee on the city clerk office portion? Okay, go ahead, lead to elections.
Okay, elections on page 31. No change from 2021 to 2022. The amount that's charged to the city is determined by Broome County because we contract through them so that the city clerk's office doesn't have to perform our own election services every year.
Go ahead, Councilwoman Freeman.
Thank you. Hi, Lee.
How are you?
Good. How are you?
Good.
So this is for a person's salary, or this is for general, like nondescript services?
This goes to the Board of Elections to help them facilitate the citywide elections every year. So it's not to one specific person, but it is to one specific office over there.
I see. Okay, I was confused by the notation one at, but so it's just supplemental funding that, and
Right.
then we don't really control what happens to it after. Okay. All right. Thanks.
Councilwoman Riley, go ahead.
Yes, do we have a contract with these agencies to ensure a consistent price schedule in case something changes?
I know when the current county executive came into office, he wanted to keep the rate flat to municipalities over the course of 4 years because, a presidential year cycle with more than one primary is a lot more expensive than an off-year cycle, such as this year. So in years past, it was pretty rocky, and now they've found a way to flatten it over the years. In terms of a contract, I don't know if Chuck or Lori might be able to help that. I don't believe.
I don't think there's a contract. I actually think they're obligated by the state of how they break it out. I think that they allocate it back. I think somehow that's written in the state contract.
Right.
So do we know? I mean, do we have language?
No,
that
we
gov-
do not have any contracts with them that I'm aware of. I could ask Ken or Brian. Are you aware of any?
Just to know if this price may change.
This is Brian Seacrest. As far as I know, there's no contract, but I believe Chuck may be correct that it's based on actual cost allocated by community. So that as their cost changes, the cost to us will change in proportion to our population and to what they do for us.
Okay.
Angela, when I worked at Tioga County, we used to gather all the expenses of the election, and then we allocated it back to all the towns and villages, and the county ate some of it too. It was a formula that we used.
Right, but it would be great for us to know said formula if it is applied here in Broome so that we can anticipate changes. I know it won't be significant, but how do we know it won't? Say somebody makes up a number.
I can ask the question. I'll send an email out to them tomorrow and ask them.
Thank you.
No more questions on that. We can move on to animal control. Page 65. And there's not much change in here from 2021.
There is one modification we do got to make, Lee, on this, the longevity and A3510.5100. That was a mistake in our calculation. That person's not eligible for it. So we should transfer that out of there into contingency account.
Okay, that makes sense.
I can make that motion. I move that we take the longevity line in A3510.51000 and move it into contingency. And of course, that's on a different page, but you all know that line number.
47, right? Is it the first one? So the contingency, Councilman Riley, would be A1990.55000. Zero.
Yeah, unless you're moving money directly into like a fire or police contingency, anytime you're moving something out, you're reducing something, it automatically goes into general contingency.
General.
Okay, so that's right. It's 55000.
That number was written on another page for me, but
Yep,
Oh, yeah.
47. I know I'm with you. I read to wrote it down on top of my agenda. We have a second for that.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Hi.
Anyone opposed? Okay. Any other questions for Lee on animal control? Page 65. Councilwoman Freeman, go ahead.
Thank you. I have a question about the animal shelter services line because we haven't yet approved that contract, correct?
Sorry, I missed the last part of your question.
Oh, we haven't yet approved the contract with Front Street Dog Shelter, right?
That's correct. I believe we're voting on that on Wednesday.
Right. So, I mean, I assume it's going to pass, I think, but let's say it, like, if it does, or if there's a change in the contract or something like that, what would happen to that money? Would it just go back to contingency, or do we need to have
In
contract
theory,
with-
if we didn't land a contract with the county, we would have to find some way to shelter any stray dogs, or about 63,000.
Right, okay. I mean, again, I assume it's gonna pass, but I just wanted to check because I know we haven't actually voted on that.
Right.
Yet, okay,
We built a good relationship with the county dog shelter.
hmm
We've been contracting with them for a long time now.
right. Okay, thanks.
The chairman, I'd like to make a motion to approve pages 14, 24, 25, 31, and 65
As amended,
Second,
as amended.
as amended for that one amendment. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Anyone opposed? Okay, thank you, Lee. Appreciate it.
Thank you,
and
everyone.
We have Corporate Counsel Ken Frank with us. We're gonna do the law, the insurance fund. So I will officially open pages 26, 27, 205, 206, 207, 204, and 203, which is the summary of the insurance fund.
Good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
Let me
Evening, Kim.
let me just highlight some things on 26 and 27 first, and then I'm going to go back and talk about some things that roll over between the law and the risk management. Just some of the things, litigation arbitration expense. You see this year, we've already expended almost $30,000. In 2020, we expended just a little over $7,000. This is one of those unpredictable lines. Sometimes it's a lot less, sometimes it's a lot more. We've, over the last 15 years or so, we've always budgeted between probably 19 and 23,000. For 1 year, I'm good with 21,000, leaving it there, hoping that we're closer to 2020 numbers than we are to 2021 numbers. Legal services, you notice we're over budget on that as well. That we usually do spend what's budgeted every year. Although it usually comes up in the end of the year, or half the year later in the year, we usually have additional money that we move into there. So I think we're okay with 15,000 on that line, with the understanding that at some point we may have to move money into it, but it will come from somewhere else in the budget. I don't think it's worth moving it in now. And on page 27, just the one thing I'll point out, travel and training. Right, so far we've only spent under $600 out of $2,500. I'm not sure if all of you know, attorneys have to do continuing legal education throughout their careers. Right, they have to have 24 credits for every 2 years. This number is probably unusually low this year because I'm not taking any classes. Because I'm going to be retired, so I'm not spending any money taking the classes. But going forward next year, you're certainly going to need that money again. So let me go back to what I think is the main concern that I have with this page and the pages under the risk management budget. We've talked about this before earlier in the year. We're really having almost an impossible time attracting and keeping assistant corporation counsels. Earlier in the year, we sent to you kind of a schedule of lots of different places. We were the lowest out of all the cities. I think Jamestown, New York was the closest at $55,000. And of course, that was a budget from a year or two ago. I understand that it's difficult for us to fund 2 assistant attorneys at a salary that may be reasonable. So what I've proposed is we're going to have 3 attorneys, a paralegal, and a secretary to corp counsel. In the past, we've either had 3 attorneys, a paralegal, a secretary, and a legal typist, or we've had 4 attorneys, a secretary, and a legal typist. Right now, we're leaving off the legal typist. I can tell you the next administration may want to add that back in. The Office of Corporation Counsel needs a tremendous amount of administrative support. But I think for next year's budget, including a paralegal, where hopefully we'll be able to hire somebody, rather than having 2 attorney positions where we can't get anybody because the salaries are too low. What I'd like to do is have a paralegal and increase the salary for the assistant attorney so we can attract and keep somebody. And then during the next administration, they're going to have to work out, do we need more administrative help? Or do they think they can add another attorney? But for the budget for next year, what I would like to do is eliminate the $50,000 salary that is, I think it's half on the law budget and then half on risk management. So that's why the motions are going to reference budget lines, the A1420 and the M1910, because these salaries are divided between those two different budgets. So what I'd like to do is eliminate one assistant attorney at $50,000, or defund one assistant attorney at $50,000. We're not going to eliminate it, but defund it. We are going to fund a paralegal that's in risk management, and that would be for $42,000. I think that salary is low, but I think, I still think we could get somebody at that salary as a paralegal. And then, so there would be $8,000 in contingency because we eliminated 50. We've added back 42. There'll be 8,000 in contingency. I'd like to move 7,000 of that into the other assistant attorney line so that we can go up to $58,000. And that would be for somebody who's been admitted that we can actually send to court and can do some other work. I want to use up to $58,000 because if we get somebody right out of law school, we could probably start them at 55, give them, a certain amount of time. They'll pass the bar, they'll practice be admitted for 6 months. We'll get a good sense of them before they have that increase. And then there'd be $1,000 left over. I would suggest moving that $1,000 into provision for incurred loss in the insurance fund. We may use it there, but I'd like to keep it in the risk management budget so that it can be used somewhere during the year. So I can ask somebody if they could please, I kind of outlined what the 4 motions are.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make
questions. I'll be happy to answer. Otherwise, I'd ask if we could make those motions.
I'll make a motion to amend budget lines 1420.51000 and M1910.51000, which is personnel services, to defund one assistant corp counsel at 50,000 and move that 50,000 to contingency.
Second.
All in favor of that motion?
Aye.
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 Anyone opposed? Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to transfer 42,000 from budget line 1990.55000, which is the contingency line, to M1910.51000, which is the risk assistant / paralegal line.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? Okay, go ahead.
Make a motion to transfer a total of $7,000 from budget line A1990.55000, which again is contingency, to A1420.51000 and M1910.51000, which again is personnel services, to increase the annual salary of the assistant corp counsel from $51,000 up to $58,000.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? Okay, go ahead.
Lastly, make a motion to transfer $1,000 from the contingency line ending in 55000 to M1910.54900, which is the line titled Provision for Incurred Loss.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay. Thank you, Ken, for explaining that earlier today so we could look at it and writing those up. This probably saved us quite a bit of time, so thank you for that.
Thank you very much. Are there any other questions on pages 26 and 27?
I just wanted to mention that I know there's a lot of complexities to these unions and contracts and a whole bunch of other different things, but if there's anything we can do, at least from my perspective, to support any further increases to this so we can get some keep some good people in this office and keep them in the city, I would, at least I personally would support that. I'm assuming my colleagues would as well. I'm not sure if there is anything, but I just wanted to mention that.
I will tell you, none of these positions are in a union. Nobody in the Office of Corporation Counsel can be in a union. They're all, private positions, right? Some of them are management tested positions. And the problems with a lot of the salaries are, for a number of years, there were no increases and we never got them to catch up. Right, but thank you very much. These do need to be corrected going forward, or we're not going to be able to attract and retain good people. But thank you for this. I do think it will be helpful.
I would
Going to
also-
risk management,
Who was that? Oh,
That was
Oh,
just
Brian.
It was Brian. I just wanted to also thank you for that. I do want to highlight one thing Ken mentioned, and I don't want to be glossed over, was that there was next year, there's going to have to be consideration about whether you want another additional attorney or whether you want an additional administrative staff. The number of documents that we have to push now compared to years ago has exponentially increased. And we understand that this is probably the limit of what we can do in this budget, but you're really going to need to give serious consideration in future budgets to having additional attorneys and additional administrative staff just to keep up with things like code enforcement, what it takes to successfully prosecute a code enforcement action that these days has increased dramatically. So it's the type of thing that we can do what we need to do on this budget, but it's something that needs to be addressed in coming years.
Ken, if we're gonna leave this the way you propose, we're gonna have to go back and modify other lines because this is reducing the taxes in the general fund, I believe. But I have to figure it all out between the M fund because we increased the cost in the M fund and decreased the cost in the A fund. I'm gonna have to calculate this. I think if you just change the paralegal to be 50% in the A and 50% in the M fund, I think we're okay. I think.
that would be fine. I mean, we basically break up most of these positions between the two funds anyway, and I think the paralegal would be appropriate for that.
Yes. Yes, it would.
We can do that tomorrow night, Chuck.
Yeah, we'll figure it out. and get it
Okay.
out.
If there's any changes, we'll look at that tomorrow night when we clean up the pages and do any other
We just wanna-
housekeeping that we need to
We
do.
want to approve those 2 pages, 10, 26 and 27 tonight. Or the M fund, yeah.
We need to.
So
hold
we are
on.
not going to do the M's tonight.
We can
call
do
that
the
back.
M's because everything except for what I.
But
had
not
to-
26 and 27, or?
You can't approve them either until I get it all figured out. Then I'll send you the motions.
So the whole thing we need to approve tomorrow night for,
Yes.
okay. All right, I don't know if anybody heard that. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna have any other questions we're gonna do now, but then we'll call back all of these pages tomorrow night just to make sure that Chuck can look at the A versus the M and make sure that we have all that where it needs to be.
Yeah, and just so everybody, I won't be at the meeting tomorrow night. So if there's any questions in advance of that, I think this is just finance doing the math on the pages, but it doesn't change the nature of the motions.
Okay.
I'm sorry, Councilwoman Riley, you had your hand up?
Really, Councilwoman Friedman had hers up first.
Go ahead.
So,
I figured out the answer to my question.
well, now I did have a question because the Corp Council line A, the top salary, of course, is yours, Ken. So upon retirement, it's not based upon years of service. Would that new candidate then receive the residual at that rate, or is that automatic for someone moving into that position, or is it negotiable based upon their skills and background?
I've always done, listen, I came in and I took the rate that was there at the time. So that was 16 budgets ago. So the answer is, I think it's usually at that rate. I mean, if you look at that same sheet that we gave you about assistant corp counsels, we're a little shy on corporation counsel as well. So I wouldn't expect there to be any kind of a decrease going forward.
Okay. But similar to that other question I had with the chief of fire, we may have 2 people in the line at the same time, correct? For training purposes?
No, that'll never happen.
Oh,
No.
You can only have one person in that line.
Yeah.
Like, that person could be temporary, probationary, or permanent, but only one person in that
You can
line.
only- Yeah, you can only have one person a line at a time.
okay. So we would have to make an agenda item, legislation for a temporary service line if someone is to be trained for your role as you start to move out in terms of.
I will not be here on January 2nd.
Oh. Okay.
Yeah, there's nobody, so there's going to be a new corporation council on January 2nd.
Let's hope he lasts that long.
Oh,
Don't sound excited or anything, Ken.
Yeah,
Love
so
it.
are we?
I'm not saying I'm going to be here until January 2nd. I'm pointing out there will be a new court counsel on January 2nd.
So now, is this position posted? Are we prepared? What's happening?
These positions aren't posted. These are appointed positions. That will be up to the new mayor to decide how they want to fill them.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Right. Councilman Riley, let me say this. I think the salaries that are there should be there and not be adjusted. It should be the next administration's choice of how they want to spend that money.
Okay, because they will be a part of the recruitment process as well. So if
Yes.
we are
yes.
way under budget, under market rate, they would be able to negotiate the salary and then adjust.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, just in the risk management budget, obviously from a personnel standpoint, we talked about everything. The only significant change that I really saw in it is that, as you know, because we've been moving money, our outside counsel fees in 2021 were significant because of a number of litigations. I expect those to continue in 2022. So we've increased, the outside counsel provisions. At the same time, we have, and you're seeing the 265 in 2020, that's actually what was spent, not what was originally budgeted. What was budgeted was 90,000. We've really had to increase outside counsel based on the number of litigations where, quite frankly, frequently myself and other members of court counsel are the witnesses because we're the ones doing the investigations. So we need to hire people. So we did increase that, anticipating that would likely, still be a high number in 2022. We decreased provision for incurred loss. That used to be $200,000 in the 2022 budget. It's $100,000. Because of the tremendous work of some of the people in our office, we've actually done very well with these. We do have one matter that's outstanding that may change that, but we've kept those costs very low over time. And I kind of use the money for outside counsel and the provision for incurred loss as kind of they counterbalance one another, right? Either we can pay claims or we can defend against claims. And sometimes we're defending against them and that increases our outside counsel cost. Sometimes we're paying them, that would increase our provision for incurred loss cost. I think that's the only significant change on those pages. Chuck, the other pages on the insurance fund, although they come under my name, Chuck really prepares those numbers for us. So I'm going to defer to Chuck on these.
The workers' comp on page 207, worker comp claims, these are tail claims that have been going on well before all of our times working for the city, except for maybe one or two here. They keep going down a little bit every year, but there's still enough claims out there to cost us $375,000 anticipated for next year. Third party administration is right risk. They're the people that handle those claims for us. That's the charge. They give us $16,000. Managed care is a PPO policy that we have with UHS. That's $41,600. Workers' comp insurance. That's a pretty big drop. We've actually had some pretty good claims over the years since we went to a fully insured policy, and our comp alliance firm came in and reduced that cost to us next year because of the better claims. And employee
And one of the
benefits-
reasons those go down is because the managed care through UHS.
Yes. And getting people back to work.
Yeah.
And the last one is employee benefits for the people in the insurance fund of 48,000. So that's a $300,000 decrease for next year.
Chuck, page 204.
Councilman Friedman, you have a question?
Yes, thank you. Can you explain what the state assessment of the workers' comp insurance is?
Yeah,
that
we
you-
get another fee associated outside of just the workers' comp bill from the state that they charge us that number. It's right around 80,000, 78, 79. It's never really been higher than 80, but it's in that vicinity.
And that is merely assessing our workers' comp policies, or what are they assessing?
Ken, you know more details on that or not?
I used to. Yeah, it's, I mean, some of these are still into the state fund. These are, Chuck was talking about the tail claims. I can, we can get a little more about that, but that's, there are certain fees you have to pay to the state.
Mhm.
These are just fees. I know.
Non-negotiable.
I deal with it all the time. It's not like I shouldn't trivialize and say it's like your phone bill, but it is. The state puts assessment on workers' comp, and they just, it's part of the thing. We can get a little more details, but it's
I suspect that this is what funds the use of like the electronic portal where you can file documents electronically and how they fund some of the process by which they handle claims, which in the long run saves us money, but they still collect the recoup their costs by assessing it, portioning it out to the
Right.
users.
We get a separate bill from them every year.
Yeah.
For that amount of money.
Okay, gotcha. So that's, I mean, I assume that's non-negotiable. I just was curious.
No.
What they call an
All right.
adhesion contract.
And Chuck, page 204. Is the revenues.
Okay, yeah, the
Revenues.
revenue.
And this is part of what Chuck was talking about, the interfund revenues, when we change something in the insurance fund, why they have to recalculate some of these. Right, Chuck?
Yes, yep. So we got the insurance recoveries, interest and earnings. Then you have the interfund revenues. This is where all the money comes from, all the different funds to pay for the insurance fund. And you've approved everything here, whether it's the refuse fund, water fund, sewer fund, into it to bring us into $1.8 million. Right, we can't vote on this until I get this all figured out tonight and tomorrow morning. Then on page 203 is a summary of everything, where it comes from. I'm appropriating, M599, I'm appropriating $451,000 of fund balance there. We basically have over, I think it's about somewhere between 1.6 and $2 million in fund balance, and that covers most of our liabilities that we have out there. So this page, after I get everything calculated, will change also. If anybody has any questions on any of this.
okay. Any other questions for Ken or Chuck? We will tidy up this tomorrow and do some housekeeping to make sure we're set with between the A and the M's. We will not actually vote on these pages, but if we had any other questions, we can do those now to save at least those few minutes tomorrow. If not, I'll take a motion to adjourn.
Thank you.
Thanks,
So
everyone.
moved.
All right,
Thank
second.
you,
All
everyone.
right.